Hello, welcome to Filmmakers Focus. I'm Doc Kennedy. Today's special guest is Tamara with the camera, Tamara Thompson. You're going to love this episode because whether you're in filmmaking, video production, producer, director, and even if you're not in any of those things, if you're in business, if you're a freelancer of some other kind, if you're into leadership, there's something in this for you. We're going to get to that in just a minute. First off, I want to give you a quick update on what's going on with myself. So I continue to work this part-time job that I thought part-time. When I started part-time, I thought that'd be like 20 hours a week, and it's turned into more like closer to 40, which is all right, but I could definitely use those 20 other hours elsewhere. And again, this is just to recoup what was stolen. So this is just a temporary thing, something that I'll work through. And I know that there's other people out there. Maybe right now you're going, oh man, I can totally relate to having to work that job, to support my family or whatever during this time. And that's the thing is you have to remember it's just a season. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to make it a bigger deal than it needs to be. So in the morning, I'm working on the other projects that I have, which would be freelance video. I'm cutting other podcasts for other podcasters, and I'm adding all this into the repertoire of what I do with my production company. Now, the company itself has yet to be formed, but I'm putting the groundwork in, and that's all coming together so that by the end of the next 2 months, the company will legally be in place and we can go from there, which I'm super excited about. So I don't want to spend too much time on myself, but that's kind of where things are at there. So I want to give a quick shout out to Cole Rulan, hope I'm saying that right, Cole Rulan, Sean Logan, and Chester Goad for leaving podcast reviews on iTunes. And this is a big deal because these reviews help get us to the front page of iTunes, which is a search engine. And the way that they use that search engine is by the reviews that are left. Chester Goad says, engaging, interesting, and fun. Doc Kennedy's Filmmakers Focus is engaging and reminiscent of Leonard Maltin's Maltin on Movies podcast. Only rather than critiquing or reviewing film, Doc uses his film and interview expertise to dive into discussions with other experts in various aspects of film. I have a new cinema podcast fave. Wow, thanks, Chester. And I'm a huge fan of the Leonard Maltin on Movies podcast, so that means a lot to me. And I don't think I can compete with Leonard Maltin. He's one of my faves, but I really appreciate the pat on the back there. So each episode, I'll try to give a shout out to people that are leaving reviews and just to help you know that it is appreciated. Also, if you could retweet, just post on social media, this helps get the word out. And like I said, this is kind of the bread and butter of the podcast industry. It's just getting it out there. So every little thing that you do, it might seem like a small thing to you. A retweet's not a big deal, or a tweet, or a post somewhere. It's not a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to me. And I really take that very serious. So thank you ahead of time. And when I do see that online, I'll definitely be giving you a shout out. So with that said, let's dive into this conversation with Tamara Thompson.
And now our feature presentation.
Tamara Thompson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Doc. I appreciate it.
I'm excited about this. I've been following you for a little while, and we're kind of neighbors, about 40 miles apart.
Yeah, I'm probably about 45-minute drive, probably. I'm just a bit north of Seattle.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So walk me through this. Because you are the first woman that we've had on the show, which I'm proud of.
Yay, I'm excited. That's awesome.
So when you're deciding, hey, I want to work with cameras, I want to do video, what's that like coming out of high school and deciding that that's going to be your career choice?
You know what? I have a little bit of different story from there. So I'm in my 30s, and I actually didn't figure out that I wanted to work with cameras till I was in my mid-20s. And so what happened was, literally when YouTube came out, I started running around with cameras and making silly, fun videos for probably a good 4 years before my friends and family convinced and encouraged me to actually make it a career. I was like, oh no, it's not a career, it's just a hobby. They're like, well, what better thing to do than turn your biggest hobby into a career? And I was like, oh, you're right. So by age 29, I went back to school. So I was in a different frame of mind, I think, than a lot of the students that were around me, because we had a lot of 16 or 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are just out of high school. And I decided to apply for the International Academy of Design and Technology first. So I went to that school, and I learned from some different things, but they didn't really help me pinpoint down the structure that I wanted to do, because they actually allowed their students to go through basically design, web development, and video production all in one. And it didn't really help me narrow that down. So I thought, well, maybe I want to do graphic design, or maybe I want to do video. When I took the video editing courses, I realized I wanted to do video, but I didn't want to take all these other courses on there. So I was only there for a year. And then I was like, well, I want to focus on video production solely. So I went and checked out the Art Institute of Seattle. And I transferred there after the first year. So went there, did a digital filmmaking production degree. And while I was actually in the actual program in my early 30s, I started my own business, Serious Take Productions, which a lot of it was basically a lot of freelance work at first, saying you're a company, but you're a one-person show for the time being. So it was a little bit different for me. I started it later in life. I had done more of like the fitness industry at first, but I wasn't really passionate about it. And then when I really realized I was passionate about video, that's where it kind of came in. And then for the last 7 years, I've been doing more professional video production.
So what would you say was the biggest take from you starting later in life? Was there advantage to that, disadvantage?
Well, it was interesting because I always felt like I was different, because all my friends in high school were going off to the University of Washington or going out of state to 4-year colleges. And I told my parents I didn't want to. I said, my family didn't have the money to do that. And I paid for all my own education through community college at first. And so I got my 2-year AA associate's transfer degree, because I thought, well, as long as I get the basics, then I can transfer anywhere later in life, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so, and I was like that. I was raised to get a job at 15 and a half and work my way, buy all my cars, everything. Like, my parents taught me the value of the dollar. So it was important to me to not spend money on education that I couldn't afford myself at the time. And so I think by the point that really actually finding something that I liked, and then I was really excited about it. And then I was like, well, I'm going to focus on the schooling, because I didn't like to focus on school a lot when I was in there. And then I realized later that it was because I didn't enjoy it. Like, there were certain things I didn't enjoy. So I think a bit, but then again, there's people that are passionate at ages 18 and 19, and they really already know what they want to do, and they become successful at a young age. But it just wasn't my path. So yeah.
I relate to that all the way, except it took me a little bit longer. I was closer to 30. But when you start your business while you're in school, how was that for you? Because that seems like something that would be just an extra burden to take on while you're doing all your studies and trying to make the most of that, to be building a business from the ground up. What'd that look like for you?
It was definitely difficult. So I started the business more so the last year of college. I knew that I didn't necessarily want to work I basically wanted to be my own boss, but that didn't happen right out of college. I was getting interviews with top production companies in the area, like VMG Studios 520, if you know them. They're over in the Bellevue area. I had an interview with them the day of my commencement. Oh, wow. Like, it didn't work out, but that's okay. Like, we weren't quite the fit. I was more of like a documentary style, creative, like music video shoots types of things, and they were more of the corporate feel. I did get a position with another production company where I became the video production manager for online education for physical therapists and chiropractors. And I did that for about 2 years, but I wasn't passionate about that type of video. I wasn't passionate about the topics. So from there, I went and I worked for another company that I became a producer, and our clients were, Microsoft and Starbucks and Amazon Web Services. And I realized there, like, I was working there full time and trying to run Serious Take Productions part time to get it off the ground. So I was working like 60 plus hours up until, last 2 years, and then really dove into the business full time with this business over a year and a half ago. And it was really,
it was really hard to try to balance that. But then when I really realized like what direction I wanted to go with, who were my specific clients that I wanted to partner with, then it really just started happening. And then when you're passionate about something, people can hear it in your voice. People can see it when you're talking, and that's kind of where things happen. And then referrals started happening, and then reoccurring customers, just because they were like, well, Tamara is really passionate about what she does. She's great at directing. She's great at shooting. She can edit. She has a team that she's building. Like, we trust them. And so it was a hard process. It still is. We've actually just, not a lot of people know this, but we're actually moving to California in the next 2 months, a couple of my team members and I, because we have just partnered with some larger entrepreneurs and businesses in the Southern California area. And so there's a lot of exciting changes going on. But it was definitely hard to build it as a one-person team to start. But if you just keep consistent with it, you can make it work, because they say 80%, or I can't quote me there, but of startups fail within the first, couple years. Mm-hmm. Yes. I was like, I'm not going to fail. So yeah, that's a little bit background there.
But there's something to that. I'm not going to fail. You have to have that determination that it's just going to happen. And if not, I always like the Office. Michael Scott started his own paper company. And there's that one point where he goes, if this fails, I'm just going to start another one and another one and another one, and you can't stop me. And you kind of have to have that mentality that I'm just not going to be stopped.
It's true. I mean, you're going to hit rock bottom at times, and, there's going to be a lot of obstacles, and, I'm sure there's blood, sweat, and tears here and there.
Definitely. But I'm that type of person. I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of fear. Like, yeah, maybe jumping out of a plane might scare me a little bit, but it's I'm not afraid of the ask. And a lot of people are always asking myself, they're like, well, how did you get this person on your documentary film? Or how did you connect with this person? I'm like, well, I tweeted them. I wrote them an email. I called them. I got in touch with their manager. I was persistent. I offered value to these people that I wanted to work with. And so as soon as I got on the call with people, more than, 90% of the time, I close a deal. Just because, again, it kind of leads back into passion and being an expert in something that you love.
I got to say, I'm a little sad my neighbor's leaving, but I'm excited for your opportunity. This is great.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have to come whenever you're in California. You can come down and visit us.
For sure.
Come help us out. I know you're into video production too, and when did you start getting into video? You said a little bit later on.
Yeah. It was around age 20, 28, 30, somewhere in there, and took off on freelance a couple years ago, and starting my business this year. So awesome. Yeah, wheels are in motion and enjoying the ride, and definitely jealous for the warm weather that you'll have. So
yeah, we literally produced 5 different shoots last week in 6 days in Southern California. And it was funny because the one day that we had off was the one stormy weather day that they had that came out of nowhere. And I was like, I think I brought the Seattle rain down there. So, and that happens every time I go down there. We actually stay with a friend of ours near San Diego sometimes. And she says, every time that we come down there, we bring the rain. Wow. She was like, that's a good thing because we need some water in our plants.
Feel free to take all you want.
But then I was like, well, I don't really want to bring that with us when we move down there. But the weather was very consistently amazing. The other 5 days we were there on all the shoots that we had. Just beautiful.
Wow.
It was beautiful. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it has to rain one day, it should be the one day that you're not working. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about Inspired by 11. How did this documentary come about?
Oh, this is crazy. So, okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So when I started working with more like web series and documentary projects a few years ago, when I was younger, I had this weird perception about documentaries. I guess probably because of the ones they showed in class, they weren't very exciting.
Yeah.
So I thought all documentaries were boring. Just the ones I saw, I guess. And then I really started looking on Netflix and other things like that. And then I realized that documentaries are what you make them. And so I was like, well, I can do anything I want. I'm like, this is going to be fun. So I had
reached out. We made this web series called Artist Encore, which we interviewed past contestants from American Idol, The Voice, and X Factor. And we did about 14 episodes. And we got some sponsorships, and we traveled around the US for like 5 months and shot these series. And we got hired to do some music videos with some of them. One of the gals, Adana Duru, we shot 4 music videos for her. She was on the last season of American Idol in the top 10. And we started realizing more and more, I thought, well, a lot of these people don't have budgets, right? They're just getting going. They want to save money. They're starving artists. I mean, they're great people, but I was like, is this our ideal client? Is this who we really want to work with? And my business partner, her name's Danielle Gomez, and she is into business books like crazy, self-help, just inspiration. She did a retreat at Jack Canfield's house down in California, the creator, co-creator of Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul. And she has this, we both had this thought of entrepreneurship in the back of our heads. And I didn't really come to terms with really realizing that I was an entrepreneur until probably this last year and a half. And so she was reading the book by Lori Greiner from Shark Tank, what's it called? It's the Invent It, Sell It, Bank It. Okay. And we watched Shark Tank, and we watched Marcus Lemonis. This is CNBC's The Profit. And I was super inspired this last year about these investors and businesses. I was like, wow, I want to meet these people. I want to be like these people. And so she pulled out the book and she goes, Tamara, instead of interviewing starving artists, why don't we interview multimillionaires and entrepreneurs, successful people? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So literally within like the next day, I started tweeting people, reaching out to people. And she's like, well, what are we going to call the project? Because I'm just a doer. I just take action. And so we were like, well, how many people should we interview? What is our whole, process? What is this project about? So we're like, well, we saw like these online summits and things like that. People were interviewing like 20 plus people. I'm like, that's kind of a lot of people to interview for a first project that we haven't got sponsors for yet. So I literally just jumped in. But so we started drawing like pictures in the back of Lori Greiner's book, and and then we came up with this logo, and then we just kept envisioning. We kept seeing the number 11 pop up everywhere we were, like 11:11 on the clock, 11 on my receipts, like just popping up everywhere. So I was like, that's it. I was like, we're gonna be inspired by 11. And then people are like, 11 what? I was like, entrepreneurs. So because you can take it in any way, but it's inspired by 11 entrepreneurs. And so we basically started reaching out, and I got people's attention. I actually got Lori Greiner's attention. She actually follows me on Twitter now. Same with Marcus Lemonis. He follows me on Twitter now. I've been very persistent with them. They're not on the first one, but I can say that we are in the makes of a sequel, and we are consistently working on them. So hopefully they are a part of it later. But we reached out to different people in different niches. So we really realized that we wanted to learn through the process. So I reached out to entrepreneurs that I wanted to learn from lead generation to podcasting to webinar experts to business coaching, really just finding those people. So I started doing the research and connected with them. And, we have people like John Lee Dumas from EntrepreneurOnFire.com. We have Pat Flynn from SmartPassiveIncome.com. Do you listen to his podcast?
Yeah, you bet. Both of those.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, they're awesome. And so we have like business coaches like Allison Maslon and Vince Reed, a lead generation expert. They're all great. It tend to focus on being different niches, but realizing that each of these niches tie in together. So they all use each other's services, basically, right? They talk about like coaching and mentorship and podcasting and blogging and lead generation. They all tie in together. So we put together an 1.5-hour documentary that basically tells stories from these 11 people. We have people such as like Michael Parrish-Dudell, who's the author of Shark Tank Jumpstart Your Business. Okay. We have Heidi Lovig from Heidi Ho Organics. She was on Shark Tank and she was picked up by Lori Greiner herself. I named a few other ones on there, but yeah, it was just super inspiring to go through and learn from these entrepreneurs. And then we started implementing these structures into our own business. And so now we have the actual film premiere. So this started like about a year ago. And now it's funny because we're actually partnering with some of these entrepreneurs that we filmed, and we built these relationships, and that's what it's all about. And so, yeah, we have a premiere coming up February 28th. I believe it's Encinitas, California.
Okay.
And it's at La Paloma Theater, 7 p.m. screening, and we have tickets for sale on Eventbrite, and we sold over like 100 tickets so far, and we're trying to sell at the theater. It's about 400 person theater, and then it's gonna be released online after that, so other people can view it. Great. So we have like Facebook pages and stuff like that, but you can look up Inspired by 11 to see kind of what we're doing. We have trailers for each of the entrepreneurs, and a cinematic trailer with all of them, and it's just been a crazy process. And now we're in the mix of putting together pre-production for the sequel, which will hopefully come out next year. But yeah, it's just inspired to just do a lot of different things with the project. And Danielle's actually working on the book. We do have a podcast. We haven't been as consistent on the podcast, but we're going to continue it. And we have a blog and just a lot of stuff. We kind of took on a lot at once, but that's the way I work.
I love it. Well, what's the podcast called?
Inspired by 11.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because what our intro is basically going to be is talking about our journey, how we started with 11, and how we were inspired to continue it and interview other entrepreneurs.
Great.
In the process. So
yeah, and we'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes at dockennedy.com. As this premiere comes closer and closer for you, what's the feelings inside? Because this is obviously the biggest project you've ever taken on, and this is really inspiring where your career goes from here. So, can you just walk us through? I would be thrilled out of my mind.
Well, it's so funny because we turned it into a multimedia project, as I mentioned. There's a podcast and a book coming out, and we also. This is crazy. So we've been the last month creating also an online summit. So in the online summit, it's called Shift to Success, powered by Inspired by 11. And that launches this coming Monday, the 15th. And I've had to put together like all this free video summit, all the content from it and structure. So like, to be honest, I've like been so focused on this summit coming up. And then literally the premiere is like a week after that. But the process of it, I've actually sold out documentary films in film festivals before. So this is actually my third documentary that's being aired. So I have done this stuff before, and I'm great with PR. I do a lot of public relations stuff I used to do PR and marketing and video production for clients in the past few years. And it just kind of comes naturally to me. I'm not really nervous about anything like this. Like it gets to that point where like I'm setting up cameras. We're doing a Q&A afterwards. I don't know how I can explain the process.
So you mentioned earlier that you figured out that you were an entrepreneur about a year and a half ago.
Correct.
So taking that, and I know that it can be hard for people out there that are doing video production or they're into filmmaking, and to look at themselves as a business versus as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
How's that transition been for you? Because like, I don't know that so many people, if they put out a documentary like you have, that you see the opportunity, and that's why you're doing the podcast, you're doing the books, you see opportunity there. How has that transition been for you in keeping the excitement level where it would be if you were out there shooting, which is what you'd love to do?
Yeah, I realized this last year that I love to direct more than anything. I actually brought on a couple of DPs in the area, so we'll bring them out for the shoots, and then I'll direct, they'll shoot. I'll usually edit because I like to actually edit more than I like to shoot now. And the whole thought was I was a freelancer, and then it turned into I'm not a freelancer, I'm an entrepreneur, which you have to put yourself in that mindset, because it really is
there is a little bit of a difference. I feel like you're hustling to the point. Yes, the freelancer has freedom, and you can go out and get clients and stuff. But I wanted to be that person where I can literally choose who I want to work with, and that's getting to that point now. Like, we have a screening process, because not everyone's gonna want to work with us. We started, creating this brand awareness and structure. We're redoing our brand right now, and our price point levels have increased. And you really want to be able to become successful. You need to basically start rising with the types of people that you want to work with and surround yourself with. And so that's when we started working with other successful entrepreneurs and millionaires. And those are the people that you surround yourself to help you rise in your business too. And so it's just been, my whole train of thought has just become different the last year and a half. Sometimes I can't really explain it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, in a certain way.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So for that person out there, and we'll kind of close on this, but for that person out there that's on the fence about starting a business, maybe they're just getting into freelancing, they're like you, that wanted to turn their hobby into a career. What advice would you give them out of the gate?
Okay, so this is the one thing that some people are too scared, or maybe have too much pride to do some of the strategies that I did. But you need to be able to reach out to people and offer them something of value. And maybe you really want to work with someone, but you literally offer your services for free. Like, some people can't do that, or they just won't do that. In order to, do something with these people that don't need your services, or they can purchase their other services elsewhere at any time, you need to be able to contact them and say, this is what I want to do for you. Let me create something amazing. And, like something like connecting with a multimillionaire and say, well, let me come out there and shoot this amazing branding video for you. And, if you like it, then put me on your resource page, which gets thousands of clicks a day, which is automatically going to bring you leads. I can honestly tell people right now that I have worked so many hours the last year and a half to get to where I am for free, basically to offer somebody something of value, somebody that's going to recommend me, who's going to hire us for specific things. And people are like, how'd you get this gig? How'd you do this? I'm like, I offered something of value to these people for free and turned around and gave them an amazing result where they came back and said, wow, I really like your work. I'm just going to continue to work with you. And then we started bringing in thousands. So, it was one thing where I actually went to an event called Ignite with Nick Unsworth. He's a business coach in San Diego. We just hired him for our mastermind coaching. And I went to that event and I got so much clarity from it that I turned around and took action based on what I learned. And in one day, I sold $21,000 in sales just because I was passionate about it. And I did a follow-up based on people I already connected with, basically people I already connected with for free. And then I turned around and made that sale based on those connections that have already been made. And so, yeah, just again, if you're willing to go out and do the work and put all this extra energy in it, sometimes for free, then build those relationships. It's you need to build that before, get that warm lead. Don't cold call. Don't just write somebody out of the blue, like offer them something of value first.
That's fantastic. I've gotten so much out of this. I'm excited about your future. Great days ahead.
Thanks, Doc.